Hello folks. Today we've got another episode about Bigfoot, and I want to show you what we've accomplished during this period. Also, today I want to take it to the city, show you how it drives, and discuss its handling. Of course, I'll talk about the steering because many of you are eagerly waiting for that. The weather isn't great today, but we need to make this video because tomorrow we have an off-road adventure, which will be a completely different episode. Let's head to the car. Just a reminder that we have a hydraulic cylinder for steering control. It's the first time we've installed something like this, and so far, it seems to be steering well. In the previous episode, we had these rods and joints unpainted. However, I don't like when things are rusty, it just annoys me. We removed everything, sandblasted it, applied a special textured paint with small steps. It's the toughest one available, known for its strength. We painted these parts with colored primer, dusted them off, and then applied a new coat of paint. Now, there won't be any issues, and everything looks nice and black. In the future, I plan to add more protection for the shafts, not just from logs and rocks, but additional shielding. For now, we've installed hooks because it's essential, and we attached 2 bolts to the frame and 2 more to the additional ear. It won't come off easily. I worry about these things because on dynamic trails, someone might need to tow it out at high speed. If it tears off, it's a serious issue. It's truly reliable, and we installed 2 of them. I'm quite concerned about these things. We also added some steps because, without them, it's not practical. They're called power steps, meaning they are sturdy, with thick-walled pipes and special reinforcements welded to them. Some might wonder if I welded the frame myself. Well, considering this car has no future as a street racer, it will always be a monster. What we welded here is solid, but nothing to be scared of. Let me know what you think about the hooks and steps in the comments. It was a bit challenging to find the same hooks for the back, but we managed. We installed a similar hook, and, of course, we added side steps. Without them, it's not complete. They are what we call power steps, robust and reinforced, welded right onto the frame. You might say, did you really weld the frame? Well, for this vehicle, there's no other future. It will always be a monster, and what we welded here is perfectly fine. Alright, so here's the deal. We crafted a step, brought it in for powder coating, and the results are fantastic. The reason? Well, you want to get it right the first time to avoid redoing it for many years. No shortcuts, folks. We immediately added holes for the aluminum inserts before painting, ensuring every gap and opening got a coat of paint. After welding those spots, we meticulously applied epoxy primer, followed by a coat of Raptor, especially in areas you care about, where the action happens, where it guards against aluminum exposure. The rivets? Aluminum, of course. Everything looks pristine. Forget about rust, it's all solid and aesthetically pleasing. Now, about powder coating, let me assure you, some folks argue about its quality, likely due to varying craftsmanship. But trust me, it doesn't peel off over time. My Suzuki Samurai has had green-coated steps for years, no issues. Same goes for Dodge Ram, even during winter rides with tires throwing everything around. No problems, no rust, it holds up perfectly. Moving on, let's talk about mud flaps. Yeah, they might not seem glamorous, but they're a must. Our wheel arch ends here, and this space constantly gets debris thrown at it. Even with just a short drive, you can see it stays relatively clean, thanks to those mud flaps. Sure, the tires still toss some dirt, but without these flaps, the whole vehicle would be a mess. We bought 5mm thick rubber without threads, attached them with self-tapping screws, and for the arch, it's substantial, serving as both extra protection and an extension to catch mud. It might not be a game changer in deep mud, but it's better than nothing, right? We secured everything with galvanized self-tapping screws, and for washers, we went with special stainless steel ones to avoid any rust-related issues. We didn't attach them directly to the base because the rubber has some give. We didn't want to risk tearing a rivet, so we added chains for support. Chains attached with rivets, maintaining a slight gap for proper form. Stainless steel washers on both sides, and it's a solid solution, everything stays in place, and it looks sharp. Hey folks, let's delve deeper into the latest stage of our project. We decided to elevate the cabin from the frame by a solid 15 centimeters. Now, the gap we've got, a derecho, if you will, might seem a bit on the playful side, but there's a method to our madness. First off, exposing all the mechanical guts, from the engine to the works, is a bit unconventional. It's like laying bare the soul of the beast. Secondly, there's the constant challenge of dirt making its way into this newfound territory. Not the most ideal scenario, right? To counter this, we devised a nifty solution. We acquired a sturdy aluminum angle, applied it with precision using rivets, and then went to work on the rubber. We grabbed a camera, cut it to fit the templates, and affixed it with rivets, securing the deal with stainless steel washers. This not only adds durability but also ensures longevity down the road. Why the fuss, you ask? Well, having a truck with metal guards stands out in a crowd where plastic rules the roost. We riveted, we stretched, we flattened the rubber, and voila, now any splashes you drive through won't end up dirtying the engine. The rear part follows suit, covered entirely with rubber. I'm rather pleased with how it all came together. Take a look and let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Now, let's shift our focus to the side steps. We strategically introduced holes, taking a page out of our blacksmith's handbook. Why, you wonder? Because we lifted the aluminum so gracefully here. Some practical adjustments were made, including a hole to deal with the inevitable dirt thrown up by the wheels. A quick cleanup with a pressure washer through the hole, and you're good to go. The steps also boast a slight tilt, ensuring water doesn't pool and providing added functionality. We took the extra step of rounding the edges for safety and pounded them to snugly embrace the tube. Safety first, right? Moving on, we fine-tuned the suspension, went through the routine checks, and bled the brakes. Standard procedure, but vital nonetheless. Now, let's embark on a journey, and I'll unravel the wonders of the impressive brakes on this rig, fitted with those colossal wheels. Recall, these brake discs hail from a Unimog Mercedes, authentic, and they seamlessly complement the Gazelle calipers. Skepticism lingered about their adequacy, but I remained optimistic. Now, let's put them to the test. The brake disc is larger, and the calipers, well, they're from a smaller truck. The only potential snag could be a quicker wear and tear on the non-brand brake pads, but so far, so good. Stay tuned, as I'll also share my insights into the engine's power, discuss the optimal gears for navigating city terrain, and provide a comprehensive overview of the steering wheel. Buckle up, and let's hit the open road. Let's continue to explore the intricacies of our colossal companion, the Bigfoot. As we delve deeper into the cabin, we uncover more nuances that make this experience truly unique. Sitting in such a giant is not just about the size, it's about embracing the challenge. Now, shifting gears to the steering mechanism, this is where the magic happens. You might notice a distinctive sound emanating from the pump and the dosing device located inside the cabin. The symphony of valves opening and closing, orchestrating the flow of fluid, it's a mechanical ballet choreographed for power and precision. While I may not be an expert in the hydraulics department, the audible clues are enough to paint a vivid picture of the intricate dance happening beneath the surface. The steering wheel, in this context, is not just a means of changing direction, it's your direct link to the mechanical heartbeat of the Bigfoot. As we venture forward, you can sense the power steering responding to the pedal's commands. It's not merely a ride, it's a sensory experience, a tactile connection with the mechanical prowess of this behemoth. Now, let's dissect the steering wheel itself. It's not just a tool for navigation, it's an instrument of control, a conduit between you and the essence of the machine. Turning it on the spot, feeling the subtle resistance, understanding its idiosyncrasies, it's akin to playing an instrument in a grand mechanical orchestra. The steering isn't merely functional, it's an intimate interaction with the soul of this colossal beast. As we gain speed on the road, the resonance of the straight exhaust becomes more pronounced. It's not just noise, it's a declaration. A proclamation to the world that this isn't your average journey, it's the formidable Bigfoot making its presence known. The wheels hum, the engine roars, and you're not just driving, you're at the helm of a mechanical symphony. As we reach speeds of 70 to 80 kilometers per hour, the steering's robust nature comes to the forefront. Yes, it might feel a bit firm, but that's by design. This isn't meant to be a soft, cushy ride, it's a rugged voyage through the elements. And yes, it's noisy, but in the most gratifying way. The roar of the engine, the growl of the exhaust, it's the soundtrack of an automotive adventure. Returning to the steering's peculiarities, the absence of a well-defined center. It's as if the Bigfoot has a mind of its own, gently swaying left and subtly nudging right. Far from a flaw, it adds a layer of unpredictability to the drive, a constant reminder that you're not just steering, you're guiding a mechanical marvel. Now, cruising at 50 or maybe even 60 miles per hour, the steering becomes a dance of control and finesse. Far from a drawback, it's a distinctive feature, a characteristic that sets this ride apart. It's not just about the destination, it's about the journey, the experience of piloting a beast on wheels. In conclusion, the steering, with its quirks and peculiarities, isn't a hindrance, it's a defining trait. It's a reminder that you're not merely steering, you're commanding a Bigfoot, a machine with character, a mechanical companion on the road. And as we make our turns, navigating the twists and turns of the journey, the steering transcends its role as a mere tool, it becomes a partner in the adventure. In general, I've pretty much covered everything about the vehicle. You can comfortably cruise at speeds of 70 or 80 on it. Realistically, it handles quite well. However, what bothers me significantly is the constant need for steering adjustment to the left or right. It's a persistent issue, and there doesn't seem to be a straightforward solution. Additionally, we have a small lift on the keys, which is quite diminutive on the steering wheel. I'll consider removing it, but I don't anticipate that it will bring about a drastic change in the situation. Nevertheless, you can still navigate the vehicle, especially since it's not a G-Wagon 6x6 that demands high speeds for intercity travel. This car, with its quiet performance on fields, swamps, and forests, seems to be manageable. So, despite this drawback, it's something one can adapt to, given that I've been informed that speeds exceeding 50 are not recommended. No worries, everything is normal, you can drive comfortably. There's also a claim that there's no stop when turning the wheels left or right, implying that the steering wheel doesn't stop turning even when you're unsure of the wheel's position. However, with our steering, there's a full lock, turn it all the way, and it stops. The wheels hit the stop, and the steering wheel doesn't rotate further. On a positive note, there's a small feature, perhaps a plus. When the car is off, if something breaks, and the motor stalls, you can still steer a bit. It's a bit heavy, but steering is possible in such situations. Moving on to the next aspect, the suspension, the ride comfort is simply fantastic. Guys, it's like a dream, the vehicle handles exceptionally well. You can navigate through potholes smoothly, it leans a bit, but I don't see it as a drawback for this car. The suspension seems to work effectively, we'll further test it on the front right after this release, and I'm confident it will perform splendidly. In off-road conditions, where other cars might struggle with jumps and obstacles, I believe you can easily maintain speeds of 50, 60, and maybe even 70. It's worth noting that it features KAMAZ shocks, and my main concern is their potential for leakage. These shocks are not the cheapest, in fact, you could say they're among the most expensive. I researched them on the internet, people use them, and they are considered the best brand, particularly the Belarusian ones. I found them and purchased them quite some time ago, although I don't recall the exact name. So, I really appreciate how well the vehicle handles, guys. Currently, we're on a very rough road, and the speed might be around 50, 60, or possibly even 70. You just constantly need to adjust the steering wheel, and it seems that the higher the speed, the more stable it becomes. Notice that at higher speeds, I seem to need fewer corrections. It's absolutely normal. Now, regarding the noise in the car, I'm not exactly sure what it is. Can you hear it? It could be the tires making noise, and they are summer tires. But there's some noise, though it doesn't bother me much. It's not terrible, in fact, it's much quieter compared to our G-Wagon and some other well-prepared ones. Here, it's more refined. Now, guys, we're going to make a U-turn, turn the wheel, and it hits a stop. You see, it won't go further. This contradicts the claim that there's supposedly no steering stop. Here, everything is normal, and the turning radius is just fantastic. We made a U-turn on a wide road, and there's still plenty of space left. Alright, guys, I've got some great news. So, we've just replaced the radiator, installed a new pump, filled it up with coolant and fresh oil, and fixed a leak in the power steering pump. The factory Toyota pump was leaking, but we bought a repair kit with all the original seals and gaskets for our pump. We even replaced the rotor with an original one, as recommended. Apparently, the increased pump pressure has improved performance, and that annoying sensation in the steering wheel, the one where it felt like you were driving a body-on-frame vehicle, is now much better. The ride is noticeably smoother. Man, guys, I'm even more pleased with this car now. I'll test it on a ride and give you all the details on how the steering behaves with the new pump. In general, it wasn't a major issue before, but that center feel, that bead on the steering wheel, honestly irritated me. Now, it's gone with the new pump, fantastic. Next, we need to check the brakes. I'll say in advance, the pedal height is good, no sinking, and the brakes feel fantastic. Now, I'll apply the brakes, and we'll see if the wheels lock up or not. Of course, we won't do this on asphalt, but on some fine gravel or sandy surface, just to check. Let's see how it goes. I likely showed you the brakes, most probably, the rear wheels lock up first, and the front ones, well, they're a bit more challenging because the entire braking load is on the front. Also, the engine is up front, making it heavier, and the winch is on 87, which means it's all in the front too. But let me add a bit about the brakes. All four calipers are the same, and generally, in all vehicles, the rear calipers are slightly smaller to ensure they don't grip as strongly as the front. So, that's about the brakes. Now, let's talk about the repair kit for the power steering pump. We had some leakage from the factory pump, and we used an original seal kit. We also replaced the rotor in the power steering pump because, well, it's about 100 years old for this vehicle. I think the pressure might not be the same as in a new car, so we got a new rotor to potentially boost the pressure. For this, I found some numbers near the gearbox, just as a precaution. sealed for future reference. Moving on, we also replaced the door seals, the ones on the doors themselves, because our lower seal was cut and hanging, basically torn at the bottom. We got new ones for $72 each. Considering it's an old car, everything related to it costs astronomical amounts. Well, guys, here we are at the base. I've covered the essential aspects of the car for you. Overall, I'm quite satisfied with the vehicle, particularly because it's remarkably smooth. Despite the given dimensions that suggest it should drive like a tractor, it's the opposite, very enjoyable. Now, we'll see how it performs off-road, but I already have a feeling it'll do great. Tomorrow, we have an off-road trip planned in this not-so-great weather. 2 Bigfoot vehicles are joining us, with Grizzly fans riding along. Just a reminder, Grizzly is 1.3 meters by 750 millimeters, intentionally, and it has 2 Shishiga axles from a GAZ 66, meaning it has both front and rear axles with steering capability. So, this concludes the video. If you liked our Bigfoot, give it a thumbs up. If not, feel free to hit the dislike button. Alright, guys, see you next time.